And good evening, everybody. We are finally here. Okay, now we'll just say right off the bat that any of us old-time people who chuckle at the people that we think might be having problems because they can't figure out the Google Plus thing, and that it must be just something from your end. It's not. Obviously, even us seasoned veterans can't figure out how to find where it's at all the time. We have figured out a way to get people on the show now. So if you're going to be on the show and you've just kind of missed out and we can't figure it out, we've now figured out how to send direct links to people. So hopefully that means we can get people on the show even if you can't find the right button. So whatever. Because, I mean, I did a video and said, hey, this is how you get on, and everybody told me that's not how they get on, so I don't know. Anyway, we're happy to be here. How is everybody tonight?
Good.
We're good. We're good.
Relieved. Relieved. Awesome. Quick introductions, because we have some not new faces, but certainly faces that haven't been around quite so much in quite a while. Clear down at one end or closest to me, depending on how this thing all mirrors out and whatnot. We have Audrey for Samuel Comics. How's it going?
Hello. Good. Glad to be caught up on comics.
Right on. So happy to have you here again. And then next to that, of course, we have Wednesday Serial, Matt, who kind of made us all late today.
Hello, Internet! And hello, wine.
Oh, yes. And of course, Freedom Steven. How's it going, Steven?
I'm doing good. How's everyone tonight?
And then, of course, Mike, Sergeant America.
Catchphrase.
Catchphrase. Right on. Good to be here. Okay, so what do we want to talk about first? Big week of comics. I don't know about everybody else. I got a healthy stack of books. Anybody got a burning? This is where they want to start at. DC, Marvel, Independent. What do we want to talk?
Well, I was really surprised with that Superior Iron Man book this week.
Let's start right there. Superior Iron Man. Because I didn't get it.
I bought it digitally because I didn't order it at first because I wasn't sure about it.
Yeah, I was very hesitant on picking this up. But the only reason I picked it up was Tom Taylor. You know, he's doing a good job on Injustice, and you know, I've heard great things about his Earth 2 run up until the weekly.
Right.
So, if you like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, you kind of get a lot of this in here. He's pretty much a jerk throughout this whole issue, and because of what happened in Axis, he's being mean to people. He's drinking now. He's like he created this app that makes everyone like their best person, like their best you, and he kind of gave it away to everyone in San Francisco for free. And then that kind of plays throughout the whole issue where, you know, Pepper Potts is kind of like, why are you giving this? You're going to create some sort of like class, you know, division between the people who have these kind of phones and can get this app and the people who are kind of like, you know, living on the streets and they don't have that kind of access to that kind of technology. So it's kind of, that was throughout the whole issue. And then it was, towards the end it got kind of weird with Pepper Potts introducing a character that, like, I don't know, it was kind of weird to me. But overall it was really surprising. Because you know, I don't really read Iron Man. I haven't read any previous Iron Mans during the Marvel Now series, but yeah, I'm very surprised by this. So I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I did too. I haven't read I've tried to read Iron Man before, but just haven't liked it. And I thought because of the Tom Taylor writing that, I was like, I'll pick it up digitally and see if I like it. And I thought it was really good.
Oh yeah, like Taylor's dialogue really on the nail of how Robert Downey Jr. like talks as Iron Man. It's very, very good, very similar. So
What was the price?
I read the beginning of it and didn't get it until I read Access on what the heck was going on with all these, why all the superheroes and stuff were acting different. And
yeah,
I really like the Captain America and the Mighty Avengers one because of that too, because it was completely, you know, different superheroes now.
yeah.
So why is he in San Francisco?
That was in.
Yeah, I think that was that in Axis?
I think it was in the Axis 4 or something. He said why it was going to be like. Is that when he showed up in like the stadium or something? He showed up in San Francisco.
Well, like
a whole bunch of books, so I don't remember which one it was in.
Well,
Okay.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't read any of the Axis stuff, but like they kind of just, thrown us in.
So it doesn't say in his book why he's in San Francisco.
No, not his.
I mean, all I know about the book is kind of the, when they first announced that they were redoing this, calling it Superior Iron Man, and part of the pitch is he's going to be in San Francisco, and I just wondered if there was a rationale, because now we've got him in San Francisco and Daredevil's in San Francisco, and I just wonder why suddenly the Marvel Universe is trying to populate the West Coast.
Well, I think it was at the end of Access 4, I believe. I don't know. I read so many books, but he shows up in a stadium or something, and that's where he initially tells that he's going to give out this app or whatever. It was a great scene too, because all of a sudden he has a drink or something there, and he says, "Oh, how I've missed you" at the end. So there's his drink. But I don't remember which issue that was in, but it said that he wanted to be where where it was a nice city or beautiful people were, or something along those lines. He explained it in that issue, but I don't remember where that was to look it up and see what issue that was in, because it's not in Access 5, so I'm thinking it's possibly in 4.
Yeah, and we do get some Daredevil appearing in this issue too, so they're going to come into a head in the later issues. But yeah, it's a $3.99 book, but I kind of just wanted to try it out just to see how it is, and I was really surprised by how much I liked it. So gonna stick on with it for a little bit, but enjoy the premise. I just like jerk Tony Stark. He's just
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a little disappointed if at the end of this Access and he reverts back or something, then I might not want to pick it up.
Yeah.
I kind of like the jerk for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Everybody keeps saying good things about it. I haven't heard anybody say anything bad about it, but I still don't think anybody can talk me into buying an Iron Man comic book.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
it's really, really good too.
Yeah, the expectations were kind of low for me, so it was kind of, basically, if I could make it through the issue, I was gonna enjoy it. So,
yeah. So,
yeah.
Are you an Iron Man fan, Matt?
I enjoy Iron Man. I didn't pick up Superior Iron Man just because price point and nothing I heard about it seemed too enticing. Plus, my understanding was that it was going to be more closely tied to the Sixus event. What's it?
Access.
Yeah.
Oh, right, that font. Yeah. So I didn't pick it up because I just thought it was event tie-in at least to start, so that kind of dissuaded me.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, not very interesting. I didn't pick it up.
So what other Marvel books came out this week that people got?
Captain America. I
America?
got the regular Captain America. There was both this and Captain America and the Avengers, or the Mighty Avengers.
This one tied more into his personality from the Access event, though.
All
I
right.
enjoyed this one more, the Mighty Avengers one, I think a little bit more.
I liked the character that, Sam. I was wondering how he was going to do as Captain America. It was very fun. The artwork was very nice. I don't know if it was the coloring or the drawing, but there was a couple times with his shield, when he first enters the Hydra base, there's these hooks or notches on his shield, and it must just be how they did it, because later on it's perfectly round. So I was just having a little difficulty with that initially. And I did not read the Space Adventure Captain America, so it was a new introduction for his son and Nomad for me. But I like the character, and it's possible that his son kind of falls in easily to a I've been there, done there, where the son is a little too tough, wants to follow his father's footsteps, and is mad that he wasn't given Captain America to him, that Sam has it. And I think that's going to be a nice development of character through the issues as that goes on. The only other thing is there's Batroc the Leaper in here, and is this supposed to be the same Batroc as we've always known?
I think so. I'm not
All
so
right.
sure.
Because he doesn't wear the traditional garb. I mean, he has the mustache and he's a little silly
Mhm.
with his French, but he also bites it, right?
Yeah.
And I was not
Yeah.
expecting that, so
Oh, that was weird too.
Yeah.
it was a very excellent comic. I mean, this is going to make me stay. This is, I think, for me, the fun Captain America that I want it to be. Um, I don't know how serious that book is going to be, but I like it. So
Is Steve Rogers in the book at all?
For a little
Uh,
bit. For like a
he's
couple panels.
yeah, he's out fishing on a boat while he's talking to Sam. So as soon as Sam loses communication, he's done.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm kind of interested in the dynamic of Ian and Sam. Definitely towards the end of this issue with what happens and with one of the characters and stuff, and Sam didn't really like that. So I like their kind of their values or whatever, or what they think should happen is really going to come to a head pretty soon because they're kind of on the same page, kind of not. But I really enjoyed this. I really like Stuart Immelman's art. I just hope he stays on the book for a while. He's one of those artists that comes off like 3 or 4 issues, and then we get an announcement he's off the book, and something else happens. So I really enjoy his art, and in the first couple pages, you really get a backstory about Sam and how he grew up, and his dad was a preacher, and it kind of solidified how he is Captain America because he's from a different part of American society back in the day. You had Steve Rogers, who was in the war. This is Sam and his family, during the Civil Rights Movement, and it kind of plays off that, and it kind of shows a different side of Sam and how he's kind of worthy of the shield. So I really enjoyed those first couple pages, but yeah, towards the end, the final page was pretty awesome. So I'm really excited to see what happens with that. But yeah, I'm definitely sticking on this one. It's pretty awesome.
So I wanted to clarify. So Steve Rogers is what? Retired, mortally wounded?
70. He's 70, 80 years old. He aged up to what he would be if he didn't have the super serum. Because he doesn't have the super serum anymore. He got the super serum taken away from him, basically.
Yeah.
But now he's an old man.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
I don't know how much he's gonna play in the series. Like I would think he would play like kind of like how Bruce Wayne was in Batman Beyond, where he's kind of like the
I do.
like he's just fishing. So I don't know how much he's gonna, if at all, gonna be part of.
But you can't do that because old crotchety Batman. You can't have old crotchety Captain America that doesn't quite.
Yeah.
Probably just gonna give motivational speeches. That's
why I didn't continue with the book, is I'm actually more interested right now in old Steve Rogers, him as an old man. How does that work? How does he what does he do? I'm curious in that story, and that's why I ended up dropping Captain America when it started back up again, because I pretty much figured we weren't going to get that, and they took Jet Black went back with her father, and I was interested in those two characters. And with those two characters kind of gone, I'm like, well, that's what I was reading for, so I ended up not picking that up.
I'm really interested in his son, Nomad, in there from the.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting.
The one thing they really glossed over that I was upset by is they don't talk about Sam's power at all, about being able to see through the eyes of birds.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that really wasn't even touched on.
Oh, that's funny because they've talked about it several times in the Mighty Avengers.
Then I want to ask you then, is he a mutant, or do you know how he has that power?
I don't know. I always assumed he was, since that's kind of what he
He's
had.
probably not a
See through the eyes of all the birds. So.
he's probably not a mutant anymore, though.
Yeah, he's an Inhuman then.
They're gonna tie him back to being a human somehow, just so they don't lose that property.
Yeah.
So what's the Mighty Avengers? That's telling.
This is more of how how he is from the Access stuff,
Okay.
where he's like ruthless. They just like in the Access book, they just wanted to kill Red Skull, and they wanted to take over. That was in 4, I believe. And then in 5 is where they came in, and he's going to eliminate all the other Avengers that weren't on the island that aren't awakened or whatever they call it now.
Mm,
They were going to just lock them away in the ant farm thing or whatever prison that they have.
right.
So that's what they do in that one. They get almost all of them except for Spider-Man and Nova. Get out of there in that book. So then you get that same kind of thing that's going on with the Mighty Avengers, where he's going to overhaul everything, and you see him like patrolling the city, which I thought was good. And he takes out some villains, and they crash and into like a wall and stuff, where the police come up and they're like, they're never going to walk again. And the policeman says, he's like, well, good thing he's on our side. And
Wow.
kind of flies off. I mean, it's like ruthless stuff he's doing in there. And then there was a villain near the end that I guess somehow they'd got onto the island. So now they're going to take kind of money from the rich people to give, they want to give it away to orphans or something. And he comes in and beats the crap out of them too, or he almost kills them. And then just leaves and tells them, he's like, you might want to call the ambulance, but I would suggest that you don't. And just flies off. I mean, it's ruthless. That was mainly on Captain America in this, but there's a little bit of the Mighty Avengers mixed in. But then at the end of this one, I don't know if it kind of, you're supposed to read this one first and then go into Access, because at the end of this one is where he's kind of talking about taking out the Avengers that weren't on the island, that aren't awakened, or I don't know, he calls it something, that don't see what they can see, or they aren't free or something. I don't know. They're all, all the ones that are kind of crazy that were on the island that are switched now, but I thought it was really good. Just because it talks a little bit more about his powers and things like that than the regular Captain America book, which was good as well. I kind of liked that one a little bit better, just kind of exploring more of their personality changes, which I think is at least the most interesting part coming out of the Access stuff.
Okay, Matt, did you read any Marvel books?
Oh yeah. I guess before I launch into the big thing, did anybody else read Hawkeye versus Deadpool?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
I am behind you on this, Matt. Yes.
All right. Well, what did you think?
I really love the first two, but there was something in this one that seemed different than the other two. But it's all the same people, so I don't know. I thought the artwork was a little different, and either the pacing or the dialogue seemed a little off. But I mean, I've loved the other two, and I liked this one. It just seemed different.
It did. The main thing about this one is throughout the last 2 issues, they made a big deal about Hawkeye being deaf, and in this one, there was a number of scenes where I'm like, did they just drop that? Is that not a thing anymore? I don't know.
Well, he did mention at one time where, Deadpool was like saying something like, "Oh, I had my mask down, so I couldn't hear you, Hawkeye."
Yeah.
But otherwise, they really dropped that after emphasizing it so much. So I don't know if from the 2 writing partners, if one is doing more like the first couple issues, and then this issue was somebody different, but
Yeah. And I'm wondering if it's off partially because of the way that this had a cliffhanger at the end where something isn't as it seems. But
yeah.
I don't know. I'm willing to let it play out. There's only 2 more issues, so or maybe 1. I don't know.
Yeah, and that was it. I mean, when I grabbed the 0, I didn't realize it was 0. I thought it was 1, and then all of a sudden, when you were talking about 1, I had to go back and look, and I have liked it. I mean, it is fun. It's everything. It's that Archer and Armstrong. It's all the silly kind of stuff that you want. Yeah, I liked it.
So the Archer's Hawkeye and the Armstrong's Deadpool?
Yeah, it's feeling that way.
Cool. Then, for the rest of my Marvel stuff, is anyone else picking up all the Spider-Verse nonsense? It all just kind of blurs together.
I picked up Amazing 9 and Team Up, and then I picked up Spider-Verse this week.
Yeah, I read the Amazing Spider-Man one too.
I did Superior, the Team Up, and I skipped on that last one. because it seemed like they're all the same information being recycled.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different mini stories and different like Spider-Verses that they touch on with each little one. Like you'll get Spider-Ham, or you'll get the Superior Spider-Man in one, or you'll get in one of the offshoot minis. They had this crazy like horror comic one where it's like Reject Pietro something like slowly becomes a spider and like infests.
Yeah.
It's cool, but this is the reason I can't be picking up any more Marvel, because I'm picking up Spider-Verse, which is like half my budget for the week.
Yeah.
So it's like 4 or 5 books, right?
Mm-hmm.
The checklist is huge. It's pretty long with the checklist. Like what you need to pick up.
All of it. I'm getting the whole thing, so it's
Yeah.
Which that just keeps me completely away from, because I don't want to.
I'm with you, and I've been avoiding Marvel events for years now, but Spider-Man Multiverse, I just couldn't say no to.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound cool, but I'd have to give up a bunch of Batman to read that. And
the way Batman read this,
I know.
Whoa.
Well, and that's why I couldn't believe that they're doing the Access and Spider-Verse, but I mean, Spider-Verse is only Spider-Verse. It's not really touching anyone else's book, but the Access is. So.
Yeah.
But it almost feels like they're competing with each other, doesn't it?
Yeah. If you're a collector, if you're definitely the Marvel boy, it's got to be killing somebody's pocket.
Yeah.
But the Spider-Verse stuff has been good, though, right? I mean...
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I've loved every issue of it. I don't think there's been a bad one yet. I mean, we've gotten Mecha Spider-Man with Ava references. We've gotten like a horror comic. We've gotten more Spider-Ham. The only thing that they haven't brought in that's blowing my mind is somehow they've dodged the Ultimate Spider-Man and Miles Morales being a part of this whole thing. Which
he was in the Amazing Spider-Man 9 or whatever.
Was he?
Yeah, he was a 9. Yeah, because like something. I forgot which one of the brother or sister went into that universe and.
Yeah, the girl with the.
Yeah. So Miles was there for like 1 or 2 panels, or maybe a page, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have missed that.
Yeah, there was a lot going on in Amazing Spider-Man, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was Earth 610 or whatever is what it said.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm enjoying Spider-Verse just for all the, the different creations of different Spider-Men and stuff. Like in Spider-Verse, my favorite story out of the whole thing was Steampunk Lady Spider, which was I think it was written by Robbie Thompson and the art was by Dennis Midry. So I don't know if this is their first time doing some comics, but let's see. Yeah, Steampunk. I don't know if you guys can see that. Steampunk Spider-Woman, or Spider-Lady, or Lady Spider, which is pretty cool. And they introduced like a steampunk version of the Sinister Six, which was pretty awesome. So, yeah, that was probably my favorite out of the whole 6 stories. Yeah.
My favorite was the Hostess Pie ad. Put that in.
Yeah.
If I could own one original page of comics, this would be it. This touched my heart. It spoke to me in a way few comic pages have in years.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah, the Dan Slott and was it Ty Templeton and
you
had like different. Yeah, I just like seeing all these creators kind of play with, the whole Spider multiverse thing.
They're bringing in a lot, but like on the Spider-Man Noir book, which was months ago at this point, I know, but that was the Spider-Man Noir creators that did the 2 minis doing that issue. Like they're going all out for this thing. It has to be, right? I haven't heard anything good about Axis really. That's blown people away. So. I don't know.
Oh, that book sounds cool. The idea of just getting to read all these, what if or alternate reality Spider-Mans sounds like a lot of fun. probably
Yeah.
something for me to track down at some point, but I'm not going to attempt to pick it up in singles.
Yeah,
Fair
they're really
enough.
like, yeah, they're, you know, it's really, the fans are really like enjoying it so much. Like, we're getting Spider-Gwen as a series. And
Right.
I just wish more of these characters can get kind of their own. I don't know. I know it's gonna flood the the Spider-Man books or whatever, but I would love to see some of these, in like a mini series or something like that. But
But
yeah.
it's okay to flood it if it's actually going to be something different. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not like
yeah,
it's,
yeah,
it's not like
totally.
it's another straight up Peter Parker story. If it's going to be something different, then playing with the Spider Universe, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with playing, in my opinion, with playing with the Avengers or the X-Men too,
Mhm.
as long as they're really going to deliver something different, not just another of the same thing. And that's the
Yeah,
problem with all of those when they start, beating a franchise to death. Regardless of which franchise it is, it needs to deliver something different, and then it's okay. So, at least I think.
Well, and there's a Spider Woman and a Spider Scarlet, I think is how they're tagging it, book coming along with this. So it's been done, but there's more of that.
Spider-Woman came out this week, didn't it?
No, next week.
It's
It's next week.
I'm hesitant to pick it up because
I'm not getting it.
yeah.
Yeah, Land on Art that pretty much shut me down immediately. So
Um,
yeah. So the only Marvel book I got, because the fan I am, is She-Hulk #10. I think there's like a couple more issues left, and this is done. This issue actually was more of a Captain America issue than it was anything else, because this finishes the trial of Captain America being sued in civil court for wrongful death. So you get to hear this story of Steve Rogers when he was a young man right before he enlisted in the Army. Potentially one of the reasons why he enlisted in the Army and why he pursued it as hard as he did. He's accused of basically getting this guy killed, and in this issue you get to hear his side of the story as to what actually transpired. That he stood up to Nazis that were there, and they basically considered Steve Rogers a weakling, and they didn't want to kill Steve because they, let's keep the weaklings alive so they can breed with other, the whole master race thing. Let the weakling breed, so it'll be more weaklings will be bred, so it's easier for us to take over America. So instead, they shoot Steve's friend because Steve's friend is a smart and physique guy, and that's the reason he ends up dying in it. There's some fun scenes in here of Jen being a lawyer, practicing her craft. But really, like I said, it was mostly a Steve Rogers story, which they do clear up at the end of it. But was fun. I like the book. I think it's unfortunate it's going to be gone because I think it's smarter than what people give it credit for. But yeah, so it was cool. The next two issues are going to readdress the blue file, which is this mystery thing that they've kind of dropped in the series about midway through. It's some secret case that they were all these heroes and villains were on, and anytime anybody looks into it, weird stuff happens. So I don't know. What you got, Mike?
Thor.
I read
number
that.
one. Thor number 2.
I got that digitally too.
I am really trying to figure out. I mean, I read it twice, and then maybe almost one more time after that. I liked it, and I liked it each time more that I read it and allowed myself to just relax and enjoy it. Because at the beginning, the lady who has been worthy and taken the hammer has two voices. She has like an Asgardian voice that she speaks out loud, and then she has like a fangirl voice that's in her head. Because it almost made me think back when you guys were talking about Carmilla from
Ms.
Miss
Marvel?
Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of has that approach with how I thought she spoke to herself. She kind of knew what's going on. She knew like Molinar, but then every time she starts speaking out loud, it's very Asgardian in its way. And she kind of knows how everything works. But so I'm trying to figure out if she's Asgardian, if she was human or inhuman, since she got it off the moon. They don't explain who she is. She stays in her outfit the whole time, and I like her as Thor. I mean, I really like the story. The best part, I think, of the whole comic is when Malekith shows up, the elf wizard, and he's got Thor's arm wrapped around his neck, and he's wearing Thor's arm that he had severed off.
Uh-huh.
And they also touch on Roxxon, the company, because the head of Roxxon is a former enemy of Thor, and they bring in Uluk, the troll, who has often been an enemy of Thor. So I think it's excellent. I think she fits in perfectly. And this is actually, instead of retcons, instead of keep regurgitating the same stories, I think this is how you should pass on, just the same way as Sam is now Captain America. Her taking over Thor is, I think, a good way of making this fresh and keeping this going.
Yeah. Like, Russell Dauterman's art is just, it's fantastic. Like, through 2 issues. One of my favorite panels is when he was, Thor was fighting the Frost Giants, and the way he used the sound, and it actually moves through the Frost Giants and stuff, as as Thor's, Lady Thor's using Mjolnir to destroy all the Frost Giants. I think that was really creative. And I really don't know, like, for clue-wise, I have a feeling of who it is, but I'm just not sure anymore after reading this issue.
So,
I don't know
so
how long.
what's your guess?
I think it's what's her name? I think it's Freja, the one, the white.
Too, but with the inner talking, just made me think.
Yeah, it threw me off. Yeah, so like I'm back to square one with that. So
that also makes. I wonder though if it's going to be they're going to say another merging of how Thor had Donald Blake, if they're going to have an Asgardian and a human component together, so they both occupy the same mind, and one is always on the forefront.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So it could be that it's going to be Jane, and it's going to be Sif or somebody like that, but I don't know. I mean, it doesn't give you enough hints to tell you.
So, do we clearly know that it's not like Valkyrie? Because currently Valkyrie is 2 people. I mean, currently Valkyrie is a human archaeologist.
Oh, that's true.
And Valkyrie is kind of housed inside of her because Valkyrie technically doesn't have her own body anymore. She gave up her life to save Annabelle.
Then it could very easily be.
That could be.
That would give you that other voice because she is kind of a fangirl of the whole Thor mythos and whatnot. That's kind of her quote unquote expertise as far as and how they, at least in the New Defenders, isn't that what's called? Was it called the New Defenders? Right? Fearless Defenders, that's right. In the Fearless Defenders, that's kind of how she acted at the beginning. She was very, when she first met Valkyrie, it was very, oh my gosh, kind of a thing,
Yeah.
I was just curious.
No, that would make sense. I did not read that far. Once they jacked up the price, I dropped it. But to reinforce what Steven was saying, when you see, like, when the hammer hits on the ground, the artist writes it out in words in the cracks. I thought that was smart.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah,
that's another one that I added to the pool after reading that second issue.
Yeah.
Another one.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
It sounds really cool. I'm regretting now not having picked it up. So maybe something I have to go back and track down. It's only a couple issues in, and it sounds really interesting. And I love the fact that they're still our dethroned Thor. We're still he is still around in some sense too. I'm curious. So
at least his arm.
Yeah.
His arm, anyway. Yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate that. That's cool.
I just dropped some of the Avengers books and stuff instead of that, and picked up some of these other ones. So.
Yeah.
Because they're way more interesting than the regular Avengers and stuff.
All right, here he is wearing the arm. Let me get that. Because I was looking at that, you could just see the fingers, and then on the other side there's the stub of arm, the chunk of meat.
Nice.
I was reading that digitally, and I like just kind of scrolled past that, and I was like, wait a minute. Had to like zoom back in. I was like, what the heck is? Because it looked like he had like 3 arms. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
It's
cool.
really smart written, and like they said, the artwork is great.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, any other Marvel books we want to talk about?
Was it?
I got Ultimate Spider-Man, Miles Morales.
Mm.
I'm just going to touch on it pretty quick. This was an excellent issue. It's basically Miles and Peter fighting Norman Osborn. And in the last issue, we find out that Norman Osborn has a secret involving Miles' father. And throughout that whole issue, we kind of drag along as the fight goes along. He's kind of just teasing him, so I knew something about your father that, that would shake you and stuff. And the battle ends in a pretty dramatic fashion, and we get towards the end some twists and turns that just was pretty crazy, involving Kate Bishop, Miles' girlfriend, and someone shows up in Miles' life at the end of the story. So this is an amazing issue. I don't know how long this series is going to last, because we do see Miles in 616 and all new X-Men, I think, and that whole arc with that. But yeah, I'm enjoying Miles Morales, so definitely one of my favorites.
Because fandom is we're all pretty suspicious that they're going to move him into the regular Marvel universe,
Yeah,
right? Because the character seems to have a lot of value and a lot of interest. As the Ultimate Universe continues to shrink into nothing, that they need to do something with that material. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Before we move off of Marvel, just going back over the comments, Comic to Comic says that Falcon is a mutant and was even offered to join the X-Men by Professor X in Captain America 174. So.
Oh, I read something different actually.
Oh yeah. So what did it say on the wiki? I noticed you sent me that link. I didn't get a chance to read through it to figure out.
There was some. It's all in Wikipedia, so it's pretty fast. It just has some plot where the Red Skull was using the Cosmic Cube and fused him with the actual Falcon, and created this mental thing. Maybe eventually they made it immune. I mean, they retcon this stuff all the time.
Right.
So.
Right. So what the most current version of that is, I guess we don't rightly know as far as what the answer to that is. Clearly, more than likely, not to pick on anybody, but more than likely he isn't a mutant now. would be my guess, just because of the current environment with the mutants and Inhumans thing, as far as their movies and all that kind of fun stuff goes. But any other Marvel news we want to talk about?
The Ant-Man covers?
8 Ant-Man covers? There's 8 variants?
No, the one that has the ever-shrinking Ant-Man, so that...
right.
I just saw it. Looks like, I don't remember how many they're going to make, but each one, the Ant-Man is supposed to be slightly smaller on each one, so that there are no two the same.
Mm.
But we're not just doing gimmicks, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what I think of that, but that's interesting. I'm still so unexcited by the whole Ant-Man thing. I just I don't know.
So.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so no real Marvel news. I mean, I don't know of anything that's come out that's just earth-shattering or any changes or anything new. So let's just roll on into DC.
DC.
Yep.
What DC books do we want to talk about?
Oh, like any of them. Sweet.
Which Batman you want to talk about?
Just like 3.
That should have been the first question.
You want to talk about Paternal, or do you want to talk Batman? Let's talk Paternal. Batman Eternal. So is Hush invulnerable?
Yeah, I don't think it's Hush.
Yeah, I don't see how it can. Well, I keep thinking it can't be Hush anyway, just because that seems too early and too easy on. But like in this issue, they like smack him upside the head and all kinds of stuff, and it seems to like, I mean, so in this, Spoiler throws a punch and hits him in the face. Is she saying ouch because she's not combat trained, because she's a girl, or is it because this guy's head's made out of marble or something? And
I don't know. It could be both. I mean, what is she, a teenager or something in this? And she's not really trained.
right, well,
So that would make sense too.
I just wasn't sure because he takes a lot of head trauma in this, and it doesn't seem to really make that much difference, right? I mean, I don't know.
They could go anyway with that spoiler, punch thing that you pointed out. I didn't think that was a flaw. I mean, I'm willing to take it as like she just threw on this costume, right, and got her dad in prison. Now she's running around like, I'm the spoiler, and let me show you what's what, Batman.
But 2 issues ago, she flattens a guy, doesn't she? Doesn't she punch a guy out in like the prison or whatever, or something like that?
That's just a guy.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's not a villain.
Fair enough.
I guess. I don't know. I've heard a few different takes on this, most notably from Bat Josh. But
yeah. I haven't watched Bat Josh's. I mean, does he think it's not a Hush also?
he has his suspicions on that yeah, it's not Hush. But his big thing was to kind of make this a bigger deal. Like it's less about her with that punch and more about him. Like, this is Hush. Like, she's not going to just take out Hush and cold clock him with a random punch. Like, this is a big villain. There has to be more. And it's going to take Batman to take him down.
But Hush, if it's Hush, Hush is just a dude. Hush is just a dude that's hacked his face off and has to wrap his face up with bandages, right? I mean, isn't that all of our take?
Dude, he's like the anti-Batman. He's as hardened and as tough, and he's a big bad man.
Okay.
I don't know. Oh, I mean, that's the thing about most Batman villains, right? Like, none of them should be particularly tough or hard to take out. Like, for some reason, there's always a drop-down brawl with the Joker, but by all accounts, he's a malnutrition psychopath. Like
he can take a punch. I mean, my assumption is that that's just the Joker. He's crazy. He can take a punch. He's just that kind of
He's that kind of crazy.
Right. Whereas I always figured if you got a good punch in on the Riddler's going down because he's not that kind of a. But they've always portrayed the Joker as being. I mean, obviously the dude can supposedly cut his face off, maybe. As we'll talk later. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I like the issue. I love the art in it. I think Jason Fabok is an awesome comic superhero artist.
Mm-hmm.
I loved his art, but there was this panel that I saw when I was flipping through, and the first thought in my mind was, why is Batman on a stripper pole? Oh, that's not a stripper pole. He's coming down from the Batwing. Just something about that frame just didn't hit me right.
I guess you just had to be in the right mood to take it that way, huh?
Well, it makes no sense. The string is like perfectly taut all the way down, then all of a sudden there's all this like extra slack. It's just
Sure. Of course, hitting Batman in another one of his not soft spots, but of course in this they exposing all of his little secret caches, and using them basically against Batman.
It's interesting.
It's interesting. I mean, as a way to slowly chip away at Batman without, directly engaging him in combat. That's kind of a Hush kind of thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a good setup. Yeah.
But I don't know, that whole fight thing seemed weird to me. And I was also kind of irritated that Batman saves, spoiler, the explosion goes off and suddenly she's pulling a Batman on him. I don't know.
That's fair. How did you feel about Penny 2 interactions in this issue? Because that's the part that's been really intriguing me.
I liked it. I like her character, and I like kind of, I mean, she's not like just another version of Alfred. I mean, she's her own, whatever, and I like that. I like that she questions what Batman does at times, and I like that she, doubts herself at times. I know. I like that character.
Well, one of the best things about her in this weekly comic is the fact that she's a character that's allowed to ask some questions that no one else is able to, so I'm able to go, oh, that's what's going on. It's a really good narrative.
Right. Sure.
Do that, and I just thought that was... It really showed off in this issue, and she's like, well, who's allowed into these caches? And he's like, me and Alfred. Oh my god.
Right.
And then the whole DNA thing, that was weird.
Yeah. The real reason they snatched up Alfred.
Yeah. But my biggest concern about this book, and it kind of segues the other Bat book this week, was I am just hoping that the Joker shows up nowhere in this comic. I don't want the Joker here. I want it to be anything and anywhere else so that it's, you know, bigger than just Batman versus the Joker forever.
Agreed. I can't imagine it being that. If it was that, it's going to be... I don't know. At this point, what can it... I don't know what it could be. I don't know what it could be that it's going to satisfy me. Not that I'm not liking the book. I'm having a fun time reading the experience of this weekly book, of it just kind of, you know, this stuff happening and whatnot, and just going along for the ride. But at this point, I'm not sure. If it's Hush, I'm going to be deeply disappointed because I don't know. I'm not impressed.
Right.
So I'm just really curious if it's not him, who's at the very end of this thing that's been manipulating this whole whatever. Or are we mistaken in looking at this thing as being one giant thing that one person is doing it all? And it really is a bunch of stuff because it's Gotham and everything's happening in Gotham all the time, all at once. That it just happens to be the whole Arkham thing is going on and this whole thing's going on, and the two really don't, you know, the two or three things that are going on in the book really don't have anything to do with each other other than it's Gotham and it sucks to live in Gotham.
Well, even if it wasn't one dude, if it was one kind of organization like a Black Hand or the Court of the Owls, that could be a cool sort of deal. Or at the end of it all, it's Joe Chill. I don't know. Just
come back from the alley. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, so I don't know. That's the thing that I'm curious about. How many issues is this thing supposed to be?
Billion.
52?
Well, that's what everybody throws out, but I guess I don't know for sure. It's going till what, March?
March?
Yeah, March. Because April's the conversion stuff, so.
Right. So it's taking a 2-month break and then it's coming back again, or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I don't know. Okay. Well, do we want to roll right into the next Bat book, Matt? Batman, issue number 36. What do we think?
You got it because Superman's on the cover, right, Steve?
Oh, heck yeah. For sure. This issue was, I enjoyed it. You know, the fight between Batman and Superman was pretty awesome. One of the annoying things I found from this issue is just all the stuff that Batman has against Superman. Like, it kind of got ridiculous when he introduced the Red Giants. Like, he got, like, these red suns from, like, dead solar systems. I'm like, really? Is this necessary? Like, and then,
Paranoid man.
yeah, he's super, and then, like, the kryptonite dust spit in his eye thing, I was just, wow, okay. But,
the kryptonite chewing gum, yeah.
yeah, the chewing gum, I'm like, alright. All that right here.
The Red Suns, I have to agree with you.
That's just because you're a Superman fan and don't like seeing Superman get his butt beat by Batman. That's why.
I'm just saying, if I'm Ray Palmer, do I really want to hand red suns of dead solar systems to Batman?
Well, see,
He's intimidating.
this was my problem with the last issue too. Half the stuff they introduced that Batman's using in this story,
I knew this was
like,
coming up.
there's a story behind that. Like, how did he get 4 suns into a gauntlet? Have you ever read, like, this preamble to the Infinity Gauntlet? That was like a year's worth of Marvel War. Like, there's a little to that.
Yeah, and here you're right. And here it's just casually, it's another thing he pulls out of the Bat belt, basically, to
I know, yeah.
to deal with what the situation is.
Like
So-
Felix the
However,
cat.
he
It's
can't get out of the little cage that he gets stuck in later. Which I didn't understand that either. What the hell?
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, he's getting stuck behind just like a regular, jail cell.
Oh, they're in Arkham, where he,
Yes. What the
Does he
crap?
have- Yeah, does he have like a laser or something that he bought from somebody else that he made for Arkham bars or something? I don't know, but
I just kept thinking, I'm like, why can't he get out of there? This doesn't make any sense at all.
because he's stunned by the situation. He grabs the bars and shoots them initially. He's stunned by the situation because, of course, he's suddenly being exposed by his arch nemesis, and he's getting gassed by the pyrrolic gas. So that pretty much takes him from really handling that.
I don't understand him trying to think that he's like Superman there and trying to
Right.
like Mars or something. It didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the one that uses the gadgets and stuff, and he's like, I'm just going to pull these bars apart. It didn't make any sense.
where were the Red Suns then? He could have just
Yeah.
punched
His
them out.
suit was annihilated by then. Okay, here's my thing about that. I completely understand what you're saying, Matt. I think it's a fair criticism to say, hey, look, there's tons of story here about where's all this stuff, like last issue where he whips out the lasso, the rope of whatever that he got from some, Greek black magic market and whatnot. I understand the criticism there, and it's a fair criticism, but at the same time, for me, it's Batman, and that's standard affair. Yeah, I know that's not a good answer. But
No, it's the right one. It's the right one.
It's a standard. It's a standard thing for Batman to have this silly belt that he just pulls stuff out of that works for whatever the situation is. And like I said, it's a fair complaint, but it's also been a tradition for Batman comics for time memoriam that he pulls out gadgets and uses them and whatnot. I'm not super excited by him having a big giant robot suit. Because for me, as soon as you put Batman in a robot suit, I continue to say, why would you ever be outside of a robot suit? But, it satisfies a lot of fandom to have Superman and Batman brawling, right? We all love to see that. I think that the majority of us love to see the fight in here. I think it's interesting and amusing how in this fight, Batman pretty much says nobody wins in the fight. At the end of the day, nobody wins the fight.
That's
But,
just
whatever.
nice.
yeah.
That's only because Dark Knight Return hasn't happened yet. Yeah. I liked the comic. I thought it was a lot of fun. I'm enjoying this. I am. Spoilers for anybody who doesn't realize the Joker's in this. I liked him coming back. I'm excited about that. Do I need another Joker story? No, probably not. But I'm liking this one. He's come back and he's got a whole different mentality about how he's dealing with stuff. It's like, you look, I used to think we were this. Obviously, we aren't the friends, we aren't the playmates we thought we were, so I'm going to F you up in a completely different way.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to find out about the whole face thing. Obviously, he pulls the old dead, gross face out and plays around with it. But clearly, he has a face, right?
Which means that's ignoring the Joker's daughter stuff completely. Like that doesn't.
She loses her face. She loses her face in the Batman Eternal, right?
Did she? I thought she had it sewn onto her face.
But she gets. I thought in one of the last Batman Eternals she gets beat up by Batman. I thought her face kind of falls off again, didn't it?
I don't remember.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong. But now I'm curious about that. Did he go someplace and get his face fixed, or did he never really ever peel his face off?
Well, I think it said in here when he was talking about how he was hiding as this guy, which makes me think that he's been hiding as a long time. He said that he went and had that done. Where he's explaining all that.
Oh, right. The drugs and the Perlix and whatnot.
Yeah, but it sounded to me when it showed up when he's talking to him about that is then I wanted to go back and see the other issues where he showed up in that annual or whatever where.
Right. And he was.
Him in there, and I'm guessing that was the Joker then.
Yeah, because in the annual, right? Because in that annual, which has been 6 months or so ago, he was a new employee to Arkham.
Yeah,
so, I don't know.
Him for that long, which I think is interesting. So,
yeah.
That I thought was pretty cool. They tied it back that he's been there the entire time, where everybody didn't know where he was when he's been there. So I think
and the flies started showing up again. You remember there were lots of flies, just little flies here and there throughout the whole Death of the Family thing too and whatnot. So that was interesting that we once again get them showing back up in the book now that the Joker showed up. I'm curious about that. Does that symbolism mean something else besides it just being? I don't know. I had fun. I liked it. I've been liking these last 2 issues. Maybe it's just a nice breath of fresh air versus 0 year. I don't know.
Yeah.
Backup stories, though.
You know, I liked the backup story in the last one. The backup story in this one was kind of.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I know.
For me, anyway.
Yeah. And like one thing, the ending I really didn't. I don't know, the ending with the whole Joker and the gun, and I feel like, you know, Batman and a gun and the whole blam thing happened at the end. Isn't that kind of overused? Like thinking, you know, he shot the gun or whatever, and you know he didn't shoot the gun. Like, you know, Batman's not gonna die from this. It's kind of like, I don't know.
I don't think he's going to die. What I'm wondering is if he's going to get infected with the Joker serum.
Oh, that's true.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
If they do that, that's the most interesting route I can see going forward, them having to deal with that.
Right, because in this issue they talk about the fact that the Joker fine-tunes it for every single individual that he hits. That all the Justice League, each one of them, have something in that gas along with just the standard gas that affects them to make it work on each of them. So, and you know that Batman's generally dosed himself enough to be immune to the Joker gas as it is. So has he developed yet another one, or is this another? Because but he does say in this issue, my intention is just to have you be paralyzed the entire time while I take the rest of the world down around you, and you can just sit and watch it.
Yeah. And also, like, another thing, you know, like in the last issue, you had all the Justice League, you know, go after Batman. Where was Cyborg? Isn't Cyborg in the Justice League? Is Cyborg kind of in the Justice League?
They comment on him in here. We didn't actually ever see, Cyborg, but they comment that Cyborg was dosed too.
Oh, what? Okay.
I think in that issue, when they're like got them all in the hospital beds, I think he lists off how each one of them were affected. I thought they mentioned Cyborg in that.
Okay, because that was like one thing that popped into my head. Is like, Cyborg better save the day, or
listen off what he had to counter everybody in the last issue.
Yeah, he says at the top of that one page, he's talking about the toxin. For Vic, there's a rubberized microbe that makes killing the virus.
Oh, okay. All right. I see. Yeah. Okay. So.
Yeah, you're right. He was never actually in it.
Yeah.
No. Anything else you want to say about Batman? No.
Yeah.
Anybody else pick up Batgirl issue number 36? 2?
I got it.
I
don't know if I like this yet.
Yeah, see, that's where I am too. I like this issue lots better than the last one.
I like the art.
Yeah, the art's probably the strong point, and I love the cover. This cover is.
Yeah.
I mean, she looks cool. I mean, she looks like a badass. There's some decent fight scenes in here as far as that goes. I just am not sold on this kind of new personality that's Barbara Gordon now. I just she's not quite as bad in this issue as the last issue as far as just her behaving in a way that just does not strike me as being, and has never been, Barbara Gordon. I mean, I understand that, of course, it's a new book. They can, have a different voice and whatnot, but it's so radically different from, I don't know. So
I
don't
think
know.
that they're focusing more on the fact that she has, like, the eidetic memory and stuff, and they're kind of using that. I do like that part of it.
Right.
Yeah, I just don't know.
And some of the ways they're making her a younger person works, and some of it doesn't, because, like I said, for me personally, Barbara Gordon has always struck me as being the grown-up. Even when she was younger, she's the grown-up, and like I said, I guess it's fine that they can embrace her in a different way, so she's not quite so much the grown-up, but it just seems weird to me as an old reader, long-time reader of the character, to have her act in more immature sort of ways. Just to me seems strange. And
So is this kind of like is it kind of like a villain of the month kind of type of thing where it's just kind of like a one-off story?
no, this
Or-
one actually, she fights these two individuals who are basically over-the-top cosplayers of an old anime show that Batgirl used to watch. But there's some secret bad guy that is texting people as Batgirl. She even gets a text herself
Mm-hmm.
from Batgirl.
So
there's some
last issue, right?
right, and in this issue, these two women are hired to do their best to try and kill Batgirl, and they're hired by Batgirl to do it.
Oh, okay.
So she's got some nemesis that knows she's Batgirl, or if they don't know that she's Batgirl, they're messing with Batgirl and causing grief. That seems to be the bigger story that's starting with this issue. Whereas last issue was kind of a ones-off. I mean, they tie back to it a little bit because now suddenly Batgirl seems to be kind of a excuse me, seems to be kind of a social media darling right now. Everybody's talking about her on Instagram. Everybody's talking about her on Facebook. Everybody's talking about her on Twitter, or the equivalents of in the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's suddenly this new thing because she's in Burnside. It's suddenly the thing for everybody to do. The hip and trendy thing to do is for everybody to talk about Batgirl. So I don't know.
I like Black Canary. I kind of wish she was in it a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm really kind of surprised that she's in it as much as she is. But yeah,
I like her in it. She's not actually like Black Canary in it. It's just Dinah in it, but I like her in that. I don't know. There's aspects of it that I really like in it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm just not sure. I'm going to keep getting it for a while.
Yeah.
Because it may turn into something I actually really enjoy. Part of me just has to get past the fact that it's clearly not Barbara Gordon, and even though it is, it just to me doesn't match up with my Barbara Gordon, I guess. So I don't know. Any other DC books you want to talk about?
Anybody else pick up Future's End?
Yeah, I got it.
Any shining thoughts or?
Not really. I didn't really like the fight between the two Batmans in this.
Oh, okay.
Two Batmans?
Yeah, the Batman and Batman Beyond in it.
Oh.
Kind of brief. I don't know.
I thought that was kind of cool, but
yeah. It's going too fast. I wish they would just focus on one of these stories at a time or something. Because you get pages of something and then it just goes on real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's okay. I mean, it's not bad or anything.
No, I hear you though. It's like kind of hard to get invested in one part when it's like there's 3 pages, then they jump to something completely different, and on and on.
Spend half of the book on something. I don't know. It's almost to me like it's even more like where I think the Brightest Day stuff kind of got into the same problem, where it was like too much stuff going on all at once.
Fair enough. But hey, more Batman, so you know it's DC.
I have World's End too, but I haven't read it yet, and Suicide Squad are the other two DC ones I have.
Oh wow.
I read Clarion, issue number 2. The art continues to be awesome in it. I think that Trevor McCarthy took some good pointers from when he worked with J.H. Williams to create some really cool panels and some really nice looks. And whereas the issue number 1, I wasn't exactly sure on it. It was a little bit odd, a little bit quirky, and a little kooky, but I wasn't sure whether or not, how much of the writer was going to come out in the book. It had the potential to go the direction of, and this is Ann Nocenti on doing the writing, which I usually nowadays avoid anything that she's on, but I love the character and I like the artist, so I thought I would give it a shot. The first issue was really odd and disjointed in ways, but it still seemed curious enough and readable. This issue, for me, the stuff I don't like about the writer really came to the forefront. The dialogue is really strange and weird, the way people say stuff. last issue where Clarion went from being a person who's from another dimension, who's kind of kind of on the outside, kind of an outsider on Earth. Suddenly, he's using all the colloquialisms that a young adult on Earth would use. He's, his language all changed. His dialogue is completely different. All things that kind of pull me out of the story because I don't understand why he would suddenly, act this different way and speak in a different way. And so, I'm probably done with this. Just because I just don't care for the writing. Like I said, I love the art. I think the art is smart. I like the characters. It might have an interesting story, but it's so scattered and neurotic that I don't know. Can't do it. Can't do it. Shocker! I know anybody who has read Henry stuff. Any other DC stuff you want to talk about?
Green Arrow being canceled?
What?
No, I'm just trying to start a rumor.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I just not.
Let me go Bleeding Cool real quick. What's going on?
There you go.
Yeah. They're canceling it because it's not close enough to the TV show. They're going to reboot it, so it really is the TV show? Okay. Okay.
Arrow 2, yep.
Now, see, I can believe that. But that's probably less rumor, but at any rate. So, yeah, I don't know anything else. Let's just roll on to the independent books. Independent books. What do we want to talk about? I've got a whole stack of independent books. Was the majority of my reading.
Anybody reading Outcast?
Yeah, I picked it up. I dropped it, but I picked it up just for, just to try it out, see if it went anywhere. And how did you like it? Do you like it at all?
It continues to be a little slow. I liked it because the writer has a couple different books out, and this is the one at least that I don't know what it is that is locking me into it that I like, but they go into the prison to check on this killer of this cop's wife, and they figure he's got a demon in him, so they go to exorcise it out of him, and the regular stuff doesn't seem to work, but when the prisoner starts bashing up against the outcast, and even says it, he's like, I think I know who you are, and he asks, are you Outcast? And then they start to slowly figure out that it's his blood that seems to damage this guy. But then they don't have time to finish it out before they have to leave. So
yeah, they teased the fight. I thought at the end of issue 4, I thought it was going to be, I thought this issue was going to be a lot of the fight. They were going to, finish. They're going to try to get the demon out, but I don't know, the ending kind of fell flat for me because they didn't really get to do anything, before they got kicked out. I was just like, oh. Because the cover just kind of says, hey, we're about to, ramp things up. We're about to, these two guys experience, how to, the exorcism and stuff like that. And it just didn't happen. Almost, yeah. So.
Yeah. And I think if they don't get enough information out in the next issue when they visit the old lady, I think tons of people are going to drop it. But I mean, they're talking about making a TV show off of this, and you as the reader have gotten so little. I can't imagine what's going to happen in a TV show. The TV show is going to give you all the information before it's written in the comic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
well, it
also
seems to me like most of what you've gone through. What, this is issue 4 or 5?
5.
5, yeah.
This will all happen in one episode.
Yeah,
basically.
And sorry, go ahead, Steve.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Just that if 5 issues, well, something has to happen in 6, because if they make a trade out of 5 or 6 issues, nobody would pick that trade up.
Yeah, it's a pretty boring trade if this, yeah. And we do get a little bit. We don't even get that much about that guy in the hat, the guy in the suit. We get him in the final page, but he's behind a tree.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess. I mean.
And I don't need everything answered. We've talked about that several times on how much you need answered, but they keep dropping clues or I should say questions, without filling in any clues.
Yeah, they keep teasing the readers about different things that might happen, but they just don't go all the way with it, or they don't. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I don't know if I'll pick up the next issue, but
So
I mean, I'll
pick it
probably
up because it's Robert Kirkman, or
no, I'll probably just trade weight it because it probably just reads much better in trade anyway. But I'll probably pick up issue 6 just to finish out the first volume or whatever, so I can continue with volume 2 when it comes out. So
Yeah.
isn't Walking Dead pretty slow like that too?
I think The Walking Dead at least had enough other action going on, or enough character development. They keep kind of using half terms, like it didn't work this way before, or it wasn't like this with your daughter, without any explanation on any of that stuff. So you're not getting who these people are, because they keep referencing things that are never covered anywhere else.
So they need like a flashback issue or something that just tells
Yeah.
you.
something like that. Yeah.
There's that fine line, right? There's a fine line between dangling something out there to keep us interested and giving us enough to keep us to want to keep reading. You know, I mean, I don't think any of us want all the answers given to us in the first issue, because then what's the point of continuing to read the book, right? But there has to be something. At some point, you have to be given something, and it sounds to me like you're not given anything. You're just given more kind of what if nuggets of something, but not nothing to.
Yeah, because I mean, there are so many things, like we've mentioned. There's an evil man in a black hat. There is this guy's past where he did something to his daughter. There's a door in his room or in his house that's locked that he keeps thinking about turning the key to. There is his sister had something happen to her, and there's a guy who visits the town, which they never explain what happened to her. I mean, this is what you keep getting. You keep getting another, here's the development of the character, almost. So you don't know or care a lot with a lot of these people. And yeah, so 6 has to be big, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just realized that when I was talking with John DaCosta on this, that I was mistaken. I was thinking it was Devlers, not Outcast, so I was even wrong on that, on what was wrong with the pacing on this. As I was putting it in there, I'm like, the Life After, and I'm like, oh, that's totally the wrong writer. This is Kirkman, but so I was wrong on that. Sorry, John. But the pacing is bad. Pacing is bad in it.
Yeah. So what other indie books to talk about? Have you read any indie books?
I have Witches in the Kitchen. They're the only 2 I got.
Oh, well, let's talk witches.
Yeah.
All right.
Talk witches. I think.
I didn't understand like anything that was going on.
Yeah. So I agree. I was reading through this, and I was just like, they just cut to many different parts, and they introduced a new character, I guess, at the end. Yeah, I don't know. I was very confused. Okay. It was okay.
I kept stopping and staring at pages, just trying to figure out what the heck was going on in a lot of it, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Some of the blurriness of the watercolors that were washing over her in some of the parts. Yeah. I see a lot of that in Drumheller, so I was used to it, but it definitely makes it tough to figure out what you're supposed to get sometimes out of that picture.
Yeah. Well, it does, because you keep seeing like eyes and stuff, and like these every time they show like the trees and stuff, it looks like there's dark figures and things like that in it, which is interesting, and I think the story is good, which is probably why I keep getting it, but I don't know. I'm still kind of confused.
Yeah.
It's like pieces of different stuff where I couldn't tell what was supposed to be flashback in some of it, where I had to go back and read it a couple times. We're seeing like with the mom and stuff, like what happened, and that kind of confused me, because sort of went to different colors, but then it went to that same color with current stuff. So that was what was confusing me.
For me, whereas the first issue of this I was actually kind of disappointed in, which is I was kind of like, you know, I mean, I guess I got too wound up in how excited everybody else was supposedly going to be about it, and so it didn't match up to what I guess in my head I thought I was going to get. I thought this issue was way more exciting, way more engrossing. I actually really, really liked this issue. There's a certain amount of uncontrol in it, and I think you're supposed to kind of feel that in that things are now suddenly quickly really spiraling out of control. You know, she got bit on the neck, and she thinks she can envision that there's an eye there, whether there really is or not. That whole part was, you know, was really freaky, where she's swimming in the water. I liked her interaction with the girl, you know, where she basically says, yeah, I did kill the girl. She's in my backpack, and every day I feed her to pigeons. I mean, I just thought that was just awesome. I'm so sick of hearing about this. This is my answer. That was all great. I was a bit confused where she runs to the school bus and then suddenly she's driving the school bus. I was like, wait.
Yeah.
She stole the school bus? I'm like, wow. But, you know, obviously things are way out of control. I mean, I guess I understand you guys are saying about the fact with the kind of flashbacks to the mother.
Yeah, which I'm really confused about.
Which she hits the deer, which clearly isn't a deer, you know. I kind of like the weird. The coloring gets kind of weird, and there's like an overlay of watercolors or whatever or stuff. Because I think that's supposed to represent. There's clearly some sort of mystic, you know, some sort of magic, some sort of whether that's an illusion, whether that's whatever going on, to give us that sense of strangeness there.
Over the faces and stuff, it looked like on those pages. Like it's like this sketch on the faces and stuff.
Well, clearly there's things in the trees, there's things in the forest that are there and whatnot. You know, we've got this whole, you know, continue this whole pledge thing, you know, gets thrown out there again. That's becoming more and more sinister sounding as we move into this second issue. I'm assuming the guy at the very end that's thumping on the father is there because, you know, whether they know it or not, a pledge was made, and you know something needs to be done about that. I don't know. Like I said, for me, I was much more excited with this issue than the first issue. I thought the first issue was lackluster, and this one, I don't know. It was easy for me just to kind of go with the flow of what was there. I mean, I went back and looked at pages a couple times and whatnot to make sure I thought I knew what I was reading, but I don't know. Like
I said, I like the story, and the art is cool. It was just I was confused on what I was reading. Some of it.
Right.
Some of the flashback stuff. I just wish it was a little bit different colored or something, just so I could tell that was what it was. And
yeah, and there's some stuff that it's true. It's like, well, like this page where the fluids that are going into the kid, they're green, and they talk about the fact. Well, did you change the fluids? Because I didn't change the fluids, kind of thing. Now, so are we supposed to be concerned that it's green stuff that's being pumped into him, or did that just happen to be the weird color choice that was made?
Yeah.
Because there's enough odd colors in this thing, it's hard I think for us as the reader to determine how much of this is they just kind of want it to look a little artsy and a little different, and how much of it does that color mean something. I mean, here she's in the water. Obviously, the bandage has come off her neck. She thinks there's an eyeball there. You know, everybody else just thinks it's a weird lump on her neck. And then there's this other colors. Is that coming off of her, or is that just something that the artist decided to throw in there just to make it look more interesting than what it was? So those visual cues do make it hard. I mean, right? It makes it hard for us to determine, is that color there to represent something in particular, or is it just happen to be an odd color palette that they wanted to use for the book?
And what coach would let her swim with an open wound in her neck?
Well, that's what I thought too. She's got this big bandage. She got this big old bandage in her neck. I'm thinking, oh, you gotta jump in the water with the big bandage, but you know, whatever.
I'm actually wondering if the man at the end isn't somebody who's against the witches and is trying to do something, but I'm interested in this storyline. I think there's a lots of different dynamics to it that, keep you, and it gives you enough information to keep you wanting more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We lost Matt. What There's Matt. Still Matt. You picked up the latest issue of Copperhead, yeah?
Yes, I did, and I noticed the art was a little different. I was just trying to look at that. Golsky, Riley, Mart. It looks like it's the same people, though.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
So my question: do you think it's now? Now you say it's different. Different how so? Because there's stuff about it that looks the same. Do you think it's just rushed?
No, it didn't look rushed. It looked.
It doesn't look inked the same, does it?
Yeah, it's the inks and the colors. It just like the lines look the same, but when I say the tone, I mean the tone of literally the color in the comic looks.
Yeah, the palette. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the palette. So that threw me off, but it's kind of interesting. I feel like this third issue is kind of the first chunk wrapping up, which is kind of interesting. Kind of makes the first 3 issues kind of their own little thing, but that means I don't know what kind of chunks it's going to be flying in, because it's come out kind of erratically, because I feel like the second issue came out less than a month ago. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, it's come out consistently. The week you talked about it was like a week or 2 after it actually came out, the second issue. The video that you did that in was actually late in comparison to when it actually came out.
That's when it showed up at my comic shops.
Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah, you must have gotten it late because it actually had come out like a week or 2 before you talked about it on your channel.
Oh, must have been a Diamond thing, and I didn't even notice. Okay. I don't know. Did you have any big thoughts about it? Because I mean, compared to the last few issues, this just felt like moving along, which is fine. I'm really enjoying the series. It just we're in it now, and it doesn't seem as exciting, I guess.
Right, because it's cemented itself. We've got a sense of what it is, right? For me, the first 2 issues was kind of an adventure of what is this book going to be, kind of a thing, and so that made it really interesting. I like it. For me, it still comes across as a Western versus a sci-fi. I know some people talk about it in sci-fi terms. To me, it doesn't. It still feels more Western than it does science fiction. It just happens to have alien creatures filling the roles of, deputies and townsfolk and whatever, to some degree. So I'm still really enjoying it. There's stuff that's going on that I'm curious to know about. They do give us a little more world building in this with the very beginning, the confrontation at the beginning with the nomad guy that's obviously some sort of he's some sort of a created race that was Taylor designed to help fight their wars. Now the wars are done. What do they do? Right?
Which I thought was really strongly sci-fi. Like that was the most sci-fi thing in this book so far since you brought it up. Yeah. Right.
But that chunk of it. And then after that, though, then he went back to filling kind of the bounty hunter kind of role. Because I mean, doesn't he clearly? I mean, that is him at the end. I mean, right? Him at the end of the thing, giving away the object that they're looking for, isn't it?
Is it him? See,
well, I was confused by that.
You're talking about with witches in a way, because up front, this guy is blue here, like stark blue.
Right.
In the back, this guy's tan, sand colored. So
you're right. He is.
I didn't think it was the same guy. I thought maybe it was like that same race.
Oh, okay. But he has the same. He has the same scars across his eyes, though.
Right. No, I see what you're saying. I see the confusion. It's just hard for can they change colors? They might have wanted to mention that.
Right. I mean, is he blue because it's nighttime and so therefore his skin? I mean, that would be an interesting sci-fi thing too, right? That he's a chameleon in the sense that his skin changes with the
it's a lot more interesting than the color is fucked up. So.
Yeah, well, but you say that there's this one page here though where he's talking about what their race was, and they're all shown as tan-skinned in that kind of, in the background flashback of what they are. And for those that aren't reading the book, this is what we're talking about. Here's the guy. He's this dark tone. we've seen him this dark tone the entire time because it's been nighttime, and then we get towards the end of the book and we have a character that looks a lot like him, and he is this brown color of the surrounding, which, now that you mention it, Matt, maybe that's what that is. Maybe he is, which is weird that they wouldn't mention that, that hopefully somebody mentions it right away in the next issue. Like, we can't trust those guys because, look, they change colors all the time, or something, to give us some sense of what that is. I'm
Guess
still
I'm trying a letter for the letters column.
yeah, I'm enjoying it though. I mean, I like the comic. You know, I'm curious to see where it goes from here. I'm you know, the relationship between the two policemen. Where is that going to go? I kind of like Boo's response to babysitting. You know, it's like, you touch that, you're going to die. You touch that, you're going to die. Is his answer to the kid when the kid goes, well, what happens if I do this? You're going to die. What happens if I do this? So, I don't know.
This far and away has been my favorite new Image title of the last good while because they keep popping them out. But yeah, this is one of the few ones where I definitely wanted to get it issue to issue. I'm not willing to just say, okay, I like the issue, but I'm going to try it in trade, which is what I decided on Tooth and Claw last week. Which, if you guys didn't pick that up, amazing but dense.
Yeah. So, other indie books you want to talk about? I've got a bunch, but I'm not going to talk about them all because I get the impression it's going to be just me talking a whole lot.
I just got the kitchen.
What'd you think of the kitchen?
I don't know. I'm not getting the next issue. It wasn't enough to, I think.
So the basic premise of the kitchen is you've got these three ladies. They're the wives of a bunch of wise guys, Irish wise guys who, you know, they control a chunk of turf. They, you know, rough people up or whatever they need to do to get paid. And they roll a guy outside of a pizza parlor and get thrown in jail for 3 to 5 years. So the ladies are basically left up to their own, you know, their own accord to try and figure out how to make a living and whatnot. And one of the ladies is the wife of the leader of this group. She's been going out and collecting money, and she is now kind of visited her friends and found out her friends aren't still collecting their husbands, going out and making the rounds around the city and collecting money. So that's what they're doing, basically, is the premise. At the end of the book, it kind of gets an ominous tone to it, in the sense that one of the ladies takes it to the next level to making herself more exactly like her husband, basically, and gets a taste of the power and that sort of stuff. So I don't know.
It was predictable. Like, you would think, like, you know, these three wives don't really know much about, you know, what was going on, and now they have to kind of step into the shoes of, you know, their husbands, and you kind of saw, like, you kind of could feel through this issue, like, this is kind of the growing pains you have to go through this. So it was interesting. I like the art.
Yeah, the art.
Yeah, the art was good.
Yeah, Ming Doyle. I really like Ming Doyle's.
Yeah.
Which isn't the cover artist. The cover artist is a quick sketch by Becky Cool, it seems. But yeah, Ming does some decent.
It was okay.
Yeah, I don't think it was bad. It was just, it wasn't enough that I'm like, oh, I really want to read the next issue.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing. It wasn't that grabbing to me or making me really like one of the characters or.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm going to keep picking it up for now. It's 8 issues. I'm going to see, you know, what goes on. I'll give it a couple more issues, decide whether or not I'm going to get it all in singles or then go back and look at it and trade. I do like it enough that I kind of want to read this story. I'm curious, you know, with the way this one ended and that taste of power, where that's going to go. You know, one of the ladies seems to kind of get a sense of how the business is run, and the other two don't. Yeah. And how big of a disaster are they going to get themselves set in? So I am curious enough, and I'm not reading this kind of a book, so I'm gonna give it a shot for a while.
Yeah, it's definitely different. That's what kind of stands out. Like, definitely different from what I'm reading right now. So.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, it does hit a lot of the standard tropes of a 1970s, you know, mafia or gang type related kind of thing. So, you know, if you've watched way too much Sopranos or, you know, that kind of thing, you may look at this and go, like Steven was saying, that it's somewhat predictable, because, I mean, the first issue, you can pretty much, you know, see where everything was going through the whole thing. I'm assuming, though, with what happens at the end of this, you get the impression that they kill a guy at the end of this, and he seems to be a named person that's somebody of significance. So they may have potentially really messed stuff up by doing what they did. And I am kind of curious to see exactly what powder keg did they light it up by doing that. So. Yeah. Any books maybe pick up? Steven, you pick up any other books?
The Fade Out. Anyone pick up the Fade Out?
Yep.
It was okay. I liked it. You know, it's kind of just moving along. You know,
it's slow. It's slow. I'll call it now. To me, it feels slow. I'm gonna keep reading because the last book these guys did, Fatale, to me, 3 issues in, I was going, it's slow. It's slow. When is it gonna? But at some point, I know something's gonna go boom, and it's all gonna make sense and all fit together and all be wonderful. I hope.
Yeah. That's exactly why I'm picking it. I'm keeping on this because, you know, with Brubaker and Phillips, it's always, you know, this is like my first book that I'm picking up, you know, in single issues with their, you know, as a team. So I'm kind of just gonna you know, enjoy the ride and just you know, enjoy the issues and stuff. And
it's a beautiful, of course, it's a beautifully, you know, artistic book as far as you know, everything about it artistically, from the panel layouts to, you know, the tone, the coloring, you know, Elizabeth Retzter, who does the coloring on the book, has basically become their main colorist. It is great. There's some odd stuff going on in it. We kind
of a lot of nudity in this one.
Yes, this one had a lot of skin in it. There's no doubt about that. And part of it was actually an honest-to-God plot point. It wasn't just a matter of it wasn't just a matter of having some TNA, and that was strange. That was kind of a weird. That whole thing was kind of a weird. You know, weird transaction there. But you know, and you kind of get these weird little pieces about these characters. It seems like each issue we get kind of odd story. In this one, the guy that's the head of the studio, we get kind of a flashback to the 1920s and some kind of weird, I don't know, cult or secret society thing that he had going on that kind of really changed his life, and basically he's a very kind of sour and potentially bitter person since then because of that. You know, he feels less than like he's living. He's going through the motions, and so that's kind of tainted his view on the rest of everything. So, you know, clearly that's kind of why he is the way he is in the book, which is, you know, somewhat interesting. But it feels like we've moved completely away from the murder that happened in the first, you know, in the first issue. So I don't know. I don't know where we're going. I guess we're kind of experiencing. It's almost soap opera-ish in that we're experiencing these people, but there's not the drama though. There's not the drama added to it. It doesn't seem. I don't know. So I'll keep reading, but this issue it's feeling slow now.
Very, very slow. Like I'm really glad they have this page with the cast of characters on it, because there are times where I have to go back and I'd be like, who is this guy again? And,
right.
Yeah, and. I mean, for what it is, like, you know, you do get a lot of content. You know, for $3, you know, you do get like one of these. What was it? Like, they have articles in the back too.
Right.
That was pretty neat. So, I mean, you are getting your money's worth now with just the beautiful the arts and coloring and story and, you know, some of the back stuff. So, yeah, I'm definitely gonna write it out because, you know, it's gonna pay off sometime, and I want to be there for it.
Yeah, and there are no healthy people in this book.
Yeah.
There are no healthy people in this book. They all got issues of one sort or another. It's like, wow, it's depressing to be these people. So, yeah. Oh. I want to briefly talk about Drifter. Drifter issue #1. This is Image Comics #1. I have the Cliff Chang variant cover. Most people have a cover where it's a big guy's face and a big kind of sun type thing on it. Kind of an interesting book. It's definitely a sci-fi book. A guy crashes on, his ship's falling apart. He crashes onto a mysterious planet in the middle of somewhere. Thinks he's dead. Somehow survives drowning because his ship crashes in the water. Engages with some what seem to be aliens or what live on this planet. He hurts one of them. He gets shot through by somebody else. Regains consciousness in kind of like a boom town of some sort. He's clearly running from something, and we're not given a whole lot of what's going on. At the end of it, he re-finds his ship, or what we think is his ship, but the ship's supposedly been there for years, so there's some time gap in there that will clearly need to be explained. The art in it is really cool. I don't know, not a lot of story to get really excited about at this point. It kind of, right now, to some degree, feels like another Image sci-fi book, of which a lot of us are complaining there's a lot of right now, which I don't have a problem with if it's good, but this one didn't really. I don't know that it delivered anything particularly special. I'm interested in it, but I'm not excited about it, if that makes sense. I mean, there's some questions in here that I'm kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool, that's interesting, but not like, wow, what's going to happen next, kind of thing. So.
Huh.
Yeah. And I got a bunch of other books, but I'm not going to talk about those because it'd just be me here talking for the next half hour about all the other books that I've read.
I got one other book.
What's that?
Did you pick up Ghosted?
No.
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 You're the one who got me on this book, man.
How did I do that?
What?
It couldn't have been me. You're mistaking me for somebody else. I picked up the first trade, and that's all I've read of it.
I just remember you and John talking about it.
Yeah, it had to have been Running with Comics. It had to have been Scott. Scott
No.
and John. Really?
I mean, I know he's read it, but no, John definitely. And
Yeah.
I thought it was. Anyways, I don't know. This
So what-
issue kind of wrapped things up kind of nicely for the last chunk and leaves the door open, but I'm kind of wondering how long this book's gonna keep rolling.
Well, I was kind of surprised after the first trade what there was going to be after that. Even that first story arc where they...
Yeah.
So is this the second arc after that? What issue is this?
We're on to 15, so it's...
Okay, so this is like a third trade worth of...
Yeah. This is where you finally get enough ties where you could see it kind of being a series, but now that it's there,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so sure I'm on board.
Right, okay.
I don't know. I'm with it this far, and the art kind of took a downturn this issue, so I'm willing to give it one last kind of see if it picks up again, but otherwise it sounds like there's a lot of other awesome stuff I'm missing out on that you guys are talking about, so I'm going to want to switch it up.
Well, there always seems to be, doesn't there?
Yeah,
Speaking of art failures, I'll briefly talk about this. This is the October faction, and this is issue 2. I love the idea of the book. I like the writing, for that matter, but the art, whereas each page or each panel looks cool, I think it hinders the book for me in the sense that it's so damn dark all the time that it's hard to tell what's going on for sure, which of course works in a horror book up to a certain point. But when I can't tell the flashbacks from the current times, then it's a problem because I don't know what story I'm reading. The first half of this book, I probably read 10 pages that I'm still going back over trying to figure out exactly, is it set in the current times or is it set in the 1970s when the dad of this family was doing his monster hunting and whatnot. I think this is my last issue. Maybe I get another one, but I'm not getting it anymore solely because it looks awesome. And each panel, like I said, each panel looks great. This dark and dreary, but it's so dark and dreary that you can't. For me, I can't ascertain a story out of it. So it's kind of unfortunate. Art's by Damian Worm, as in the little crawly thing. It's a pretty curious.
So is it ongoing or a miniseries or?
It's supposed to be an ongoing. Steve Niles is the writer. these are the same two guys who did that. I can't remember what it's called. There was a mini series that was Frankenstein meets Jack the Ripper. That I know some people, and this has probably been 5-6 months ago when that was out. We're talking about it was really dark. Also, it was hard to. It looked cool, but it was hard to ascertain what was going on. Clearly, this guy's style of art, and like I said, for a single page, it looks cool, but for me, it doesn't work long-term story-wise. So. So, anything else comic-wise you want to talk about?
Well, Supergirl number 36 is coming out next week, and it's a new direction. It's basically what they're teasing. It's kind of like Supergirl and kind of a Gotham Academy Hogwarts type of scenario, and yeah, I mean, you've seen some articles being talked about it, but it's not as hyped as, you know, Batgirl or whatever.
Right.
So I'm just going to put it out there. If you go to your shops and you see Supergirl 36, take a look. Check it out. The writer is actually two writers. It's Mike Johnson, who did some previous work on the Supergirl title. And I think her last name is Perkins, and she's actually a playwright, I think. She's very new to comics, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that all turns out. So
I take it you're excited for that.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm really excited for it because it's just a new direction for the character, and I feel like there's a lot of potential with Supergirl. It's just
Tons.
Yeah, it hasn't been tapped into yet, and I hopefully this creative team can do that. So I'm just gonna put it out there.
I may pick it up and give it a look. I mean, I've tried Supergirl off and on from the New 52, and it's just kind of a struggle.
I'm definitely gonna check out the preview pages when they do come up, hopefully this week or whatever. So just to see.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else coming up that anybody's interested in?
Batman and Robin book.
That's right.
Yeah.
See what's going to happen in there and whatnot. That's going to be really.
With all the Robins on it too, which looks awesome.
Yeah.
And then Tomas, he's also doing Superman, Wonder Woman, and that issue's coming out next week. And I'm pretty excited to see what he brings to the table with that book. You know, I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical. Doug Mankey's art is kind of hit or miss with me.
Yeah, that's
that might be a deal breaker if I can't stand his art because it is a $3.99 book. So yeah, I'm interested to see what he brings to that series. So
isn't that Teen Titans Earth 1 supposed to come out next week too?
Yeah, I think that's like.
Jeff Lemire.
Yeah, Jeff Lemire and Terry Dodson. That's it.
Yeah, which I'm kind of curious about that. I mean, that's like to see them do.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
The Teen Titans.
They need to put out a notice on when that Wonder Woman Earth 1 is coming out. That, like Grant Morrison and Janet Paquette, I think. That's Yeah. They need to get on that ASAP because I'll buy that.
That's going to be a beautiful book when it comes out for sure. Just kind of looking over to see what else is going to be rolling out. So what do we think of the Harlequin? They just announced, DC just of course announced they're going to have all those Harlequin alternate covers. You can get 22 of them.
First thing I thought was like, John is going to be broke.
Yeah, I'll be buying 22 issues of.
I would get probably most of those, but I'm getting all the Flash ones the month before. So.
Oh yeah, so that's become a new thing for DC. I mean, I guess what I think is cool is they're it's like an A and a B cover, as opposed to.
Price, I think is nice.
Right, as opposed to you're going to be paying $5 or whatever. I mean, so that's cool. I mean, if you're going to do alternate covers, make them at a price we can all buy them and whatnot. I generally don't. I talked myself into buying Darwin Cook covers for the Darwin Cook ones because it's Darwin Cook and that's just cool. But yeah, I don't know.
All of them. I think I just got the one set of the books that we were buying.
Right.
All of them.
I have to admit, I'm tempted to buy the for the Harlequin ones, I'm tempted to buy the Dark Avengers, just because it's her inside of a swamp. It's her inside of a swamp thing suit. They've got her tied up and her head's pulled off. You know, the mask is pulled off the top, and she goes, "I would have gotten away with it if it would have been for you darn kids." I don't know. To me, it just was. That's funny on a lot of levels. So I'm
on the DCBS they bundle them and it's all half off, so you can get them.
Right.
Yeah, true.
Buy the bundle deal. Oh, next week is the new team on Wonder Woman. I don't know if anybody's venturing to pick that up.
I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna try it out.
That cover worries me. That cover.
Yeah.
That cover tells you what the whole book is going to be. That's all I gotta say. I'm willing to bet money on it, but I'm getting it too. I mean, I wasn't going to. I was like, no, I'm getting it so I can officially read it. So I can officially read it and I can officially burn it down.
Yeah.
So
Tune in Saturday, guys. For
I know what a horrible frame of mind to go in at, right? I'm supposed to go in.
Where are you even buying it at that point?
See. It's just like when when they shut Hellblazer down, I had to at least go buy the first couple issues of Constantine just so I could officially know what I already knew. But
I want to read those now.
But yeah, I'm gonna get that. I will attempt the best I can to read it with an open mind. But I mean, there's some pitfalls about it because of the artist that's on it. I just have issues with that artist, so. Those predetermined things are already going to be there, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't see anything that just like is screaming I must get.
Is there any like image number ones?
Well, image number ones, there's Intersection by Ray Fox. That's the one where he's doing the whole thing. Couldn't tell you what the book is about at all, but he's writing it and he's doing all the artwork on it. It looks like it's all watercolors. I am getting that. Let's see. The other number one that's coming out next week is Synergy, which sounds like an odd book. It's by Michael Oeming, the guy who I guess most people would know him for doing Powers. He's one of the co-creators. He's the artist on Powers. He's writing the book, writing and drawing it with his wife, I believe. And it's about. I'm not sure. It's like. I'm not even going to say what it's about because I don't think I've got it right. It has something to do with basically having sex or sexual situations, and it brings out these demons or whatever, and I'm not exactly sure what it's about. I did order it, so I will be getting it, so I'll read it and find out what the heck it's about. I hummed and hawed about whether or not I wanted it, and I thought, well, yeah, why not? It sounds strange, but we'll give it a shot, but I don't know. I don't know. Wouldn't be a week of comics if Image wasn't putting out a number one, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Nah.
I don't know. I'm gonna stop reading them.
I don't know. I mean,
overall. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
I was gonna say overall, I feel it's a good thing. I kind of wish there was maybe a little bit of modular or maybe a bit more understanding of what's coming out, because there's a few books coming out, like when you say what was it, Intersection, sorry,
right,
no, Image, and there's 3 I titles coming out, one word. I like the fact there's more books and there's more stuff, but there's no there's no blurb on the back for any of these things. There's no real understanding of what the book is. We get an image that may just be a cover, not even an interior page or something. It's like, you should check this book out. It's like, but there's 3 Image number ones, plus some Marvel buying, plus some DC, plus some Dark Horse, plus maybe whatever else.
Right.
I need a reason to be interested, and especially with a lot of the images. I don't know if you guys have run into this. This is another question I wanted to ask. Is I'll try a first issue, and if I'm not hooked, I'm totally willing to drop it. I don't know if you guys are. What makes you go buy that second issue if you're not 100% sold? Because a lot of times I have to come back in the trade because, like, when Eden of the East came out, I looked over the first issue and I was like, no, this looks boring. Then I read the trade and it would have been around the third issue that I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting now. But it would have taken 3 issues. I would have dropped it. I would never looked at it again. It's just there's a balance there that I don't think there's straight.
Right. Well, I guess so. It's a matter of your standard is that you have to be hooked on the first issue or you're done.
Yeah.
Right. For me, I can't. I mean, normally I won't even do that because of the way I generally get my comic books. I'm ordering in advance. I'm ordering 2 or 3 months in advance. So I'm going to get 2 or 3 issues depending on when in the month the issues come out determines how many I get read before I make my next order. So I'm committed most of the time to 3 issues on most books just because of that. So that gives me the opportunity if there were some failures in the first issue didn't purely have everything going for it. When I get that second issue, it gives me time to read another issue and not just make a snap judgment based on a single issue. Because I don't think, for me personally, there aren't a whole lot of comics, thinking back, that I read the first issue and I am flat out blown away. So I don't know. For me to decide, okay, is this one that's worth the adventure or not? I don't know. That's how it is for me. I don't know how it is for everybody else. I'm assuming to some degree, Audrey's in the same boat, except she does quickly go back and pick up digitally if kind of a thing. So
digitally because of that.
Right.
I'm at least somewhat intrigued. I'll try a second one digitally, and then I'll add it on or something like that. Because I can buy them off of that DCBS, their storefront, and I at least get a discount off of our order then too.
Right. Right. So one of those kind of things. For me, all the number ones in the world are great. Clearly, I have a finite finances just like everybody else that's here. You can only get so many of them. So you're right, Matt. And the fact is that it would be nice if there was a better sense of what it was without having to work really hard to find what it is. Because I think there's previews out there of most of these books, but sometimes you have to really do some hunting to find where that preview's at in advance of that. I do feel like that to some degree I feel like Image is playing safe. They've discovered that this kind of the sci-fi, and there's a lot of complaints that Image has too many sci-fi books out there, and I don't have a problem with that either, but it does feel like there's a lot of them, and that's what they're producing a lot of. And it'd be nice if they explored something else. I think we've had that conversation before too. Why not put out something else? And it's not like it's even because I know that like the I'm just kind of looking over some Image books. The Image books, sometimes there's an imprint within Image, like the Skybound or what's Kirkman's? Is Kirkman's Skybound?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And there's a couple
I know of.
Right, and I think there's a couple others. Well, so both Skybound and just the regular Image are both putting out sci-fi books. Well, why doesn't somebody venture off into something else besides sci-fi and horror? There's got to be an audience out for other things, right?
Well, to be fair, just to play devil's advocate on that, Marvel and DC pump out nothing but superheroes and have been for like 50 freaking years.
Yeah.
Because that's what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, why is it incumbent on Image to do all? I mean, if you're going to talk diversity in comics, Image has gone over the moon. They do publish a few other books. It's just nowhere near as much. Shouldn't it be maybe on another publisher to be like, hey, we're the romance publisher. If you're into that, check us out. If you're into whatever else. We lost the Sergeant.
Yeah, we did. Bailed on us.
IDW is more of the licenses. Of
Right.
their comic.
Yeah. I'd argue that's more the guilty playing it safe, where they're just doing licenses and they're not doing as much as their own books, their stuff anymore. Because they did do some cool stuff.
Yeah, they've dropped off to almost all license stuff now.
Because they got their big break with 30 Days of Night, and they were kind of big on horror for a while, not just in that, but with a couple other things, and then that faded away.
Yeah.
Well, they probably figured
So-
out what we're making our money off of. So.
Wow.
So you think instead of questioning why Image isn't trying to do something else, that should be left up to somebody else to do something else? That Image should just be the sci-fi horror imprint, as opposed to clearly Marvel and DC. I don't think that's a fair comparison because that's all they have ever been. Really.
That's not true. I mean, Marvel. I mean, maybe it's technically when they were timely, but they used to do romance. They used to do western. They used to do some old school horror stuff.
Yeah, occasionally they'd put about a minimum of effort into some of those things, except for really early on when they didn't know what they were.
Right before the superhero boom. I mean,
Right.
the superhero boom. I mean, I'm going way back here.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. You are right. You are right. Way back before we were alive and our parents were alive, they were doing some other they were doing some other stuff. And I don't know. I just think that to me it seems like that. I mean, I guess I agree with you in some sense. There's nothing to say that they should have to do that if clearly they're successful with what they're doing, but they themselves tout themselves as being this great publisher that's putting out all this different stuff. When if you honestly put a look at it, it's not that different.
Well, and I guess my other big question is, what is this other stuff people claim they're looking for? Because the only things I can think of are comedy and romance. Really. Unless I'm totally willing to admit I'm missing something. I'm just trying to see if we can get some Mindscape on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, how much real mystery do they do?
How much what?
Mystery, for instance, do they do? Really?
I don't know. I mean, that depends how you look at some of the books, too.
I was gonna
Sure.
say Midnighter's probably like a close.
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, like I keep saying that Copperhead isn't a sci-fi book; it's a Western book. I mean, because I would claim there aren't enough Western books out there. I mean, I know not everybody likes Western books. I think it'd be interesting to have a new Blueberry or something like that out there, to read.
I don't think in any media there's been a big call or want for straight Western though.
Right.
Because I mean, the biggest comic book Western that ever was what, Preacher, and that's not straight
Right.
Western at all.
So I mean, if you want romantic comedy, you go to manga, right? Is that what you do?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is there's manga out there, or if you're looking for comedy, there's webcomics out the wazoo. And when they've tried transferring that or transferring webcomic creators to that, and even in an indirect way, like getting Dr. McNinja Guy to do Deadpool, it doesn't really work.
No.
And so, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of because if you want to do straight comedy, who do you get? Because they publish Snoopy comics,
Right.
but how many
Archie.
people are buying that?
Comedy.
Peanuts and Archie, right? Is Archie
Except
still
Archie's
comedy?
doing
Is Archie still comedy, or is Archie slice of
comedy.
life, or is it slice of life now? I don't know.
It's somewhere in there. It's still comedy kind of too.
Because it seems to me like the only thing I ever hear about, of course, is the horror one, which is its own thing. That's cool.
Yeah.
Or it's
regular Archie too.
the stuff that has to do with Kevin, which to
No,
me
I
is
don't really.
more
That one
which
just got
is
canceled
more
too.
slice of life kind of a thing.
I think it's comedy, but wow, I'm gonna date myself here. But if you're walking down the aisle of comedy at Blockbuster,
Yeah.
Right.
or if you're in the Netflix queue and you go across the comedy thing, I'm cool and hip again. How many of those movies are actually really funny, or how many of them are just kind of kind of funny, kind of cutesy, romantic, whatever? I mean, it's not like it's going to be a comic book of some guy drawn at a microphone telling jokes,
Right.
There's
Right.
gotta be.
It's not stand up. That might be fun though.
No, the latest Archie one that I just read was straight up just comedy, kind of gag kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I'd say it's mostly that.
I guess you're right. I mean, I don't know what else. You're right. There isn't a lot there. It just feels like there should be something else out there. I guess is where I'm at.
I just think that that's what Image is moving more towards, is more of that sci-fi-ish. It's
Yeah.
the majority of the stuff that's coming out, but maybe it's just what people are liking to write.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it. I think that's a lot of what it is because clearly it isn't like Image is going out and telling these people they have to write sci-fi books or horror books. That's what they've chosen to write. because that's what they're interested in right now, which for me is great. I love sci-fi stuff, so that's makes me happy as far as that goes. And like I said, they can put out as many number ones as they want to, as long as they're good number ones. But I don't feel obligated. I don't feel obligated to have to pick up every number one.
No.
Ultimately, I tell you the truth, I end up picking most of them up because the ones I skip, somebody talks about it enough that then I think I have to go and get it myself. But I don't look at it. I'm not worried about, oh my God, I'm going to miss the next saga, because that's what everybody else says. I always hear that all the time on the internet. Well, I have to pick up all the number ones because I don't want to miss the next saga. And it feels to me like they're not saying that as in that saga was so awesome and I missed getting on it in the beginning. It's more of, I want to make sure I'm on board with whatever the next big thing is, so I'm part of the next big thing. I want to be part of the next Walking Dead, which, of course, clearly The Walking Dead was not the rage it is now back then. I mean, they printed, the print run of that thing was puny for a very long time and was not a raging, oh my God, let's all get excited about it. It's just like Rachel Rising. It seems like up until about a year and a half ago, you never heard anybody, with the exception of maybe Matt, talking about that book. And now quite a few more people talk about it. Man, I'm not saying that still tons of people talk about it, but I don't know.
I don't know. I couldn't find that Nomadic book anywhere when I tried to get that one. I missed getting that one, and then I couldn't find it, and I couldn't even order it online. Nobody had it either, so I was like,
right.
The pain.
So, Travis, I guess part of the reason I get kind of up in arms about the Image thing, too, is because people say they want something different from Image because they're not seeing it on the shelf. But if they were to look in their comic shop and kind of look to left and right at the trades and were willing to take a bit of a risk, the different stuff is there. If you look at Arcadia, if you look at top shelf books, or like, if you're willing to look, like, I don't know how many people picked up Aphrodisiac. This is the funniest frickin' comic you can probably find. Not too many people are talking about this too often. I don't know if you guys have bothered to look into this, but it's pretty amazing. But I mean, like, there's a lot of European stuff that's translated that's obviously way different. Like, there's a lot out there. You just have to dig a little deeper, and it's not Image.
I'm a lazy consumer. Image is putting out a lot of effort to show me that, to show me stuff, so I want it to be put out by somebody that I can recognize really easy.
It's true. If only there was like a network of comic fans that were able to talk to each other and just talk about the book, share their experiences, we could kind of crack that code.
When you find those people, let me know. I know what you're saying, Matt. And you're right. You're right. It's an unfair criticism to throw at Image. You're right. It just feels like it's one note right now. So.
Yeah, like I picked up from Image, just like a kids comic, Penny Dora and the Wishing Box, and I went to my comic shop and it was all the way down the bottom. Like I had to look for it, with all this sci-fi stuff all on the top shelf. I had to find this one little kids comic that had like a couple number ones, so I picked it up and I enjoyed it, but it was just where it was placed in the comic shop, I just kind of had to look a little farther.
Yeah. So Matt's right. Shame on me as a consumer to be lazy and not to be seeking that stuff out more. But Matt is right. I mean, he's being facetious about the fact that if there was only a community that has that out there. And it is. It's here, amongst all the those of us who are on here and those of the people who are watching and commenting. If you pay attention to enough of those videos, there's lots of stuff out there, and I'm always exposed to something new that I do pick up. I may not talk about it, and I probably should, when I pick up more of that oddball stuff that's out there. And
you don't get views for it though. Just.
Well, I'm not here for the views, so I'm here to talk books. That's what's important to me. So that's why, so I can get that exposure, so I can see stuff. I mean, in the last month, I have probably seen 20 books that I didn't know existed that I know I'm interested in picking up. I just wrote down the Aphrodisiac book so I can make sure and check it out, because
it's
the only way you find a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Here, since I did comedy, here's the romance I just looked on my shelf and found. The Hypo. It's the romance story of Abraham Lincoln and his life and his wife and all that by Noah Van Sciver, who's local around here, but you probably know his brother Ethan Van Sciver, so...
Yeah.
Huh, from everything I know of history, that doesn't really sound like a very pleasant romance between Lincoln and his wife, so maybe I'm remembering history wrong.
I didn't say pleasant romance, I just said...
Oh, okay. Oh, dear. Oh. Yeah. Okay, well, I think we'll end on that. I think we'll end on the fact, the adventure of trying to find different stuff out there. If you're reading stuff that the rest of us aren't talking about in any shape, way, shape, or form, let us know. I mean, clearly we can't read it all, and I can't even begin to. I don't have enough time in my life to hunt it all down or to explore it all myself. We all rely on each other to hopefully help us, find those things that are awesome and that we're missing out on. So. Please communicate that to us in some form or another, in the comments. Make your own video. Write us a letter. Whatever. Get back to us and let us know. Anyway, thank you guys for being on. Thanks, Sergeant America, for being on. We don't know exactly what happened to him, but maybe he just got tired of listening to us talk. But I appreciate y'all being here. Good to see you on again, Audrey, after being gone for such a long time. Come back anytime now that you're caught up on books. Yay! And I'm sure I'll be back next week, and maybe you'll see some of these charming faces again next week. Anyway, have a good night, everybody.